Today's workshop is called Taking Better Lecture Notes, and just a quick word about the one next week. It's called How to Predict Test Questions. This is the first one of 5 workshops in a row, I think it is, that all have that terrible T word in it, which is test or test. So it's kind of a long series in how to become a great test taker, which always helps. Okay, so that's what's coming up next week. Now, I wanted to ask everybody a question before we start. And again, participation is welcome in these workshops. We're talking about taking notes while teachers are lecturing today. So my question is kind of a simple one, but I don't know if you've ever thought of this. Why is it important or helpful for you to take notes while a teacher is talking? What's the whole point of even doing that? To remember? Yeah, one of the things that is the simplest way I can describe it is you want to take notes so that you don't have to rely on your memory later on. You could be a fantastic listener and you could concentrate really well on the teacher, but unless you have an amazing ability to remember that, 2 or 3 or 4 weeks later when you're studying for a test on that material, it's almost impossible to remember what a teacher said. That's why you want to rely on your notes. And if your notes are good and they're complete and you can study a lot from them, you should do better as a result. The class that I teach, which is Learn 11, the study skills course, my students are required on every test, among other things, to do a short writing, probably less than a page, where they describe in detail something that I've taught them in class, kind of like they're teaching it back to me. And very often, amazingly often, especially early in the semester, I get a student who writes as their answer, "I don't remember." And how many points do they get for that? The big 0, right? And so what they're basically saying is, I was there that day, it was like 3 weeks ago, I remember what you were talking about, even remember what you were wearing, but I can't quite remember what you said. And they're trying to actually go back and remember. That's dangerous. So that's why you write it in your notes, so that you can go over it, and when the test comes, it's still fresh in your mind. That's the goal, okay? So as I mentioned a few minutes ago, I'm going to give you a handout that is sort of an outline of what I'm going to talk about. Hopefully I'll be able to get all the way through this today. There's always a lot that I would love to share and never enough time, so I'll go ahead and just sort of give you a bunch. You can kind of pass them back. If there are extras back there, you can just hold on to them and I'll get them at the end. And actually, let me put some here in case people show up late. Okay, so in order to take better lecture notes, there are 7 things listed here. A couple of little sub-points, so this will hopefully be easy for you to follow. People who are really good note takers, and there aren't that many of them actually, because that's a skill, end up doing almost all of these things regularly. It's just a habit. People who are not good note takers don't do any of these, or maybe they just do one. So if you can learn to do them, you'll be better at note taking than most people. The first one on the list has nothing to do with taking notes in class. It just has to do with preparing for lectures. There are 2 suggestions there, and I don't know if anybody here does these already or not, but they're actually very simple but very helpful when the lecture starts. The first one of these, so this is the little sub point under number 1, is